Hello. Just getting all set up here, making sure it's all working. Okay, I think it's set up. You can see one person joining in. Hello. I would love if when you join, if you can just pop a little comment just to say how your day's been going, a little emoji, just to sum up your day. So if it was a smiley or maybe it was a sunflower. Just seeing how our days were going. So tonight, as I see those little comments coming through, just putting a little emoji summary of how your day was. So if you could put your day into one expression or one little, it could be a flower, whatever it is, just popping that in the comments. I would love to see how everyone's day was today. And while we're just waiting for people to join, this masterclass, so this wellness awareness masterclass is about mindset and our mentality. So last week we looked at physicality. See a little smiley face, that's so good. Lovely. Last week we looked at the physical body, bringing awareness to how our physical body interacts with the environment that we're in, how the environment interacts with us. And this week is all about our mindset and our mentality. So before we get too much into that, let's just take a moment to just check in and let the day go and drop in and connect. So finding a comfortable position, just noticing how you're sitting, becoming aware of your posture, of how your body is taking up space right now. And whatever position you're in, it's lengthening through the spine, sitting up nice and tall, or if you're lying, finding a little bit of length in the spine. See if we can relax the shoulders. And if we can make our body perhaps 1% more comfortable. How could you find a little bit more comfort in the position that you're in? Might be dropping the shoulders a little more. It could be softening around the eyes. It could be letting our hands relax a little more. Just see if you can release a little bit more tension from a certain area in the body. We can do this by taking a deep breath in through the nose and breathing out the mouth, a big exhale, sighing it all out. Take another mindful deep breath in, just enjoying this inhalation. The biggest breath you've taken all day. Hold it at the top for a moment and then sigh it all out. And then just returning to normal breath. Just sitting with your breath for a moment or two here. Noticing the cycle as it comes in and as it goes out. As the breath goes in and as the breath goes out. And drawing your attention to your thoughts now. Might be thinking about the day that's been, or what's to come later on. Perhaps about dinner. Just noticing and being a witness to your thoughts. And connecting our breath. So as we start to inhale, let's slow it down. And then really slow down the exhale. And as you inhale, see if you can slow down the exhale to deepen the exhalation. It's continuing a few more rounds of slowing down our breath. And if thoughts interrupt our attention of breathing, just refocus back on the breath and focus on lengthening the exhale a little more, a little deeper. And then allow the breath to return to a normal pace. And just noticing the mind again. Have the thoughts slowed down? Have they disappeared altogether? Or are they still there racing around? In yoga philosophy and yogic thought, the breath is linked so strongly with the state of our minds. So if we find our minds racing, and our minds are busy, we can turn to the breath and use the breath as a tool to slow down our racing, busy minds. And when we intentionally slow down the exhale, we can drop into our parasympathetic nervous system, our state of rest and digest. And we can begin to relax a little more. So linking our breath to help clear our mind is one simple, accessible tool that we all can access at any time of the day. But it takes practice because we can get caught up in our thoughts very easily, and we can get caught up with what's happening around us. Perhaps we're in a busy work environment or we have lots going on. We might not even notice how much we have sped up or what kind of state we're in. So regularly checking in, taking a step back, and then just dropping into the breath to exhale really slowly and deeply, just for a few rounds like we did just then, makes the world of difference. So after just dropping in and letting the day go, this hour, or just a bit under an hour now, is talking all about our mental health. and how we can clear our mind, how we can calm our mind and create a peaceful inner world for us to be in. And as our body works in a holistic way, when we calm our mind, we can really relax our body as well. So by working with our mentality, we can work with our physical form as well and our emotions, because it's all linked and it's all interconnected. So the benefits ripple out to all other areas of our life. So very powerful practices. Our mindset is everything. So when we talk about our mentality, so in wellness awareness by the HCA that I've created, there are 6 aspects to our wellness that we can give attention to, that we can focus on, that we can work with to bring us to up-level our health and up-level our life. And this aspect that we're focused on tonight is called mentality. So what does mentality mean? Like the physicality aspect, mentality is broken into a few different areas or ways we can think about it. So mentality, our cognition, so our thinking. We're thinking about our thinking, which is metacognition, thinking about thinking, which can kind of scatter your mind just trying to process that. But when we become still, it becomes easier to become aware of our thoughts. So the more we practice stillness and the more we practice these type of practices, the easier it becomes. Like any skill, the more practice, the more better we become. We build our skills in this area, in metacognition and thinking about thinking. So mentality, we're looking at our mindsets. And our mindsets can really help us, and they can really hinder us in whatever aspect of our life we're looking at, whether we're looking to achieve a goal, if we're studying, or if we're at work, in our relationships, in our health, financially, whatever we're looking at, our mindset matters. Mindset matters. We're looking at our thought patterns. And our thought patterns can be split into 2. Our conscious patterns, so things that we're aware of already, and our unconscious patterns, things that we're not really aware of that we're thinking of. And when we do meditation or mindfulness practices, we can start to bring light and we can start to bring awareness to these unconscious thought patterns. And then we can really start to make real deep change by bringing awareness to these unconscious patterns. Because our unconscious thoughts can really be ruling some aspects of our life, and we're wondering why we're not changing, or why we're not progressing, or why we're not achieving or creating long-term effect or long-term change. So we can't dismiss the unconscious parts of our thinking as well. So our thought patterns, our conscious and unconscious patterns we can look at our self-talk. That thought in our mind, the self-talk, the things that we tell ourselves. And this can be, I like thinking of self-talk in 2 different ways. It can be an inner critic, or it could be an inner cheerleader. So do you have more of an inner critic? We all do. And how can we maybe change that to become more of an inner cheerleader? So something that is giving us confidence, building us up, rather than critiquing everything that we do and instilling fear? How can we instill confidence with our inner cheerleader? So just thinking, we can label as well. Labeling thoughts is really helpful way to think about thinking. So we can label, oh, that's my inner critic talking. What would my inner cheerleader say? So just say we have a test coming up, we have some kind of event coming up, and we're a little bit unsure, we might have some doubts, we might be a little bit low in confidence about that event or situation or test coming up. And we can check in with our self-talk. Is our inner critic really loud, saying, oh, this is too hard for you, you can't do this, who do you think you are doing this, why should it be you, you failed this before? Inner critics can bring up all kinds of stuff that we do not need. So there's a few ways we can deal with our inner talk. We can say thank you, because it's trying to protect us. Our inner critic is trying to keep us safe. And it wants us to stay in our little bubble. It wants to stay, if we think about in our comfort zone, staying inside the circle of our comfort zone. So our inner critic could be trying to keep us there. But what we want to do is be able to recognize and be able to witness when this is happening, the thoughts that our inner critic is saying, and acknowledging them, but not letting it rule us. So not letting the inner critic in the driver's seat. It can be in the passenger, or you can move it into the back. And you're like, okay, yes, I see you there. I see what you're trying to say. I see what you're trying to do, but not letting it take the driver's seat. Maybe we can move our inner cheerleader into that passenger seat and up next to us to boost our confidence, to boost our self-esteem, and tell us that we can do it instead. So that's kind of thought patterns. The other part of our mentality is just knowing that it makes and creates our reality and how we see the world. Our thoughts and our mindset it creates our self-perception, our perception of who we are, who we think we are, and it also creates our perception of the world. So our inner perception and our outer external perception is created from our thoughts. So these mental systems that we all have are working out how things connect, how things become meaningful, what it means for us, and how we make sense of the world. So our mind is constantly trying to keep us safe. It's trying to help us sometimes grow and change, and it's making sense of our world, creating meaning. And the awesome thing is that we have the control to a certain extent. We have the power to be able to create our own reality and change our thoughts the way we want to. And we can recognize these thoughts and just let them go and not let them rule us. Our thoughts, you can think of them as thoughts create stories. And if an event happens or something occurs, our minds make this story up about it. We can make a story up about someone in our life. If someone did something to us, we can create a story about that. And that's how we make meaning. So knowing that we have control over the stories that we tell ourselves can be very empowering, because we have control over them. So just moving on now to, let's start to think about your own mentality, your own mindset. Are you more towards the glass half full type of person, or are you more towards the glass half empty type of person, more optimistic or more pessimistic? Now, whenever we use awareness, we want to come at it with a curiosity, with a gentle kind of consideration, rather than judging ourselves. Because judging it's not going to make us feel good, but when we bring a curiosity, a lightness, a playfulness to our experience and why we think the things we do, why we do the things we do, that in itself is a really nurturing and caring type of practice. So when we think about who we are and what we think about, we're just learning about ourselves. We don't need to judge. We're learning because we're always going to be growing. So the glass half full or glass half empty? What are you more towards? Or maybe you're in the middle. And looking at your outlook on the world, and this could be shaped by so many things. How we grew up, what we experienced, all different types of things shape our outlook of the world, just who we are as people, and we're all different, and that's a good thing. We don't want everyone to be glass half full. We need all different types on the spectrum. So if it's completely the most optimistic, positive person ever, all the way down to negative, super pessimistic, it's good. The differences are great. So it's just being aware of the effect that it could have. So maybe if you're becoming aware that you're more of a pessimistic person, how is that affecting you? How is that affecting the people around you? And are you happy with that? If you're super positive, you always look on the bright side of things, how is that affecting you? And is that for your best and highest self? How is that affecting others around you? So it's just interesting to have a look at ourselves and to learn about ourselves a little more. So looking at that, thinking about that, it's very exciting times that with all this brain plasticity or neural plasticity. And the definition of brain plasticity or neuroplasticity is that we have the ability. It's the ability of neural networks in the brain to change through growth and reorganization. So in our brain, it has all these little pathways, so many coming off all together. And before, in the past, scientists, and we thought that it couldn't be changed, that your brain would just be static and it would stay like this forever. But now they've done the research over and over again to see that brain plasticity is a thing, and our brains can reshape themselves and they can rewire and they can change. They're malleable. So they're very flexible and resilient, and they're adaptable, and it can reorganize itself. And we can do that. We have that power and that ability to reorganize our brain, to think how we want to think, to change our life how we want to change our life, to create the reality that we want to create, because how we think creates our reality. So our brain's neural plasticity, we can create new connections, so we can actually form brand new pathways that we never had. So our life can literally change completely because of the way that we see the world in a new way. Or it can adjust and it can kind of remap or rewire pathways in a different way. So we can create brand new connections, or we can readjust the ones that we already have. And this links into what at schools we really try and instill in kids today is what's called a growth mindset. Growth mindset is the basis of neuroplasticity. And a growth mindset is where you have the belief that you can persist through challenges. Growth plasticity is where you believe that you can overcome. So overcome and persist is all about the growth mindset, and that you can achieve and that you can adapt. So it's a very hopeful, it's a very positive kind of way of thinking about our brains, this growth mindset and neural plasticity. And just believing in this makes it so, because we create our reality and we can choose the thoughts that we want, and our beliefs can change with new information that we learn. So the growth mindset is being rolled out in schools. It was created by psychologists, and it's had a really great effect on when implemented correctly, or even just when our kids or adults become aware of this way of thinking and how our brains work. So rather than, if for example a child is in a let's just say a maths lesson, and there is a type of question that they can't get, they just don't understand, and instead of giving up, we can remind them remember about growth mindset. If we can persist through challenges and we can overcome. So just having that kind of opens up the mind rather than shutting it down. And we can kind of figure out new ways to learn and to grow. And it doesn't mean we're all going to be amazing at maths. It just means we're going to achieve, and we can grow more. We can have more success. So having that growth mindset is vital to our mentality, and just being aware of that. Growth mindset links on to resilience. So the Resilience Project came out a few years ago, and it was huge, such a big thing. And I think I believe in our times with COVID and just the state of the world that it's in now, with so many changes that are happening that are outside our control, resilience is such an important thing. And with uncertainty, resilience is very important, that we're learning for ourselves and for children as well. So anyone of any age, resiliency is so key for our health and our well-being and for our mental states. And we can teach resilience. Like any skill, we can become better at being resilient. Some people are already naturally quite resilient, and others we may need to work at it a little more. And because we just know that life is always going to have its ups and downs. It's always going to have challenges, because we are always going to be constantly growing and learning. And challenges are a part of that. If we're smooth sailing the whole time, we're not really going to grow. So we need these challenges. Challenges are a good opportunity to be able to practice our resilience and become even stronger. So resilience is, if you think of an elastic band, when you stretch it out, it can bounce back, or like a ball. So you're just bouncing back after something. If a tough, challenging situation occurs, something happens, and it just, whether it destroys you completely or it's put a little bump in your road, in your path, you can bounce back from it. And sometimes this might be longer, sometimes we can bounce back really quickly. And the thing with resilience is there's two things. We have to be able to withstand, so stand strong when challenges come up, and then we can adapt, so we can evolve from that. Bouncing back from challenges, looking at how we can enhance our resilience with our mindset, how we think about things. So if we think, if we are the victim, so if our mentality is that we are the victim, oh, things are happening to me all the time. Why is this happening? Life's so unfair. Life's so hard. This kind of mindset isn't going to be helpful for our well-being or our mental state. But if we look at things as if, how is the universe helping me? How is this working for me? What is it teaching me? Is a way that we can encourage and enhance this resiliency skill, and we can bounce back. So being aware of our thoughts and the effects that they have. So the effects that they have, this could be in our behavior, in the actions that follow, in our emotions. So our feelings and our thoughts are very connected. It's like this cycle. So we think something and that makes us feel something. We're feeling something and we think something, and it kind of is like this spiral. And if we bring this awareness to our thoughts, we can change how we feel, and then how we feel can help how we think, and we can spiral it upwards instead of spiraling down, or we can stop it clear in its tracks. So becoming aware of our thoughts and the effects that we have is an absolute game changer in our health journey, because we can then decide and stay in control of making health promoting decisions, and we can stay on track with our goals and where we want to go. So it is all about creating long-lasting change. It's not just a fad. It's not something that it's quickly like a trend and then it goes. When you change your mentality or bring awareness to your mentality, everything changes for the long term, for the long haul, for the long term, because it really does shape your reality, and you can create new realities with your thoughts. So making decisions, when we become aware of our thoughts, we can make decisions that are really aligned with who we really are and who we really want to be. So it's really key to living an authentic life that really feels good and really feels true to who you are, because it kind of guides your actions and your behaviors, our thoughts. So we can be, it just comes back to being in that driver's seat, and you become empowered. So if we look at our thoughts, that they influence our decisions, and then our decisions influence our actions, and this creates our life. We can just start at the top. Start at our thoughts. And when we think about the benefits of bringing awareness to our mentality, to our mindset, to our thoughts, we can really bring in clarity. We can get rid of a lot of that mind chatter. So in Buddhist thought, they liken the mind to a monkey. So a monkey mind, it's like jumping from one thought to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's absolutely relentless. So it just goes on and on and on. So the monkey is just swinging from one branch to another, and that's our thoughts. Swinging around, back and forth from the past, something that happened all the way ago just pops into your head. You know, why am I thinking about that? Or it could be way down in the future, 20 years or, 80, whatever. Our thoughts just jump around. Could be very mundane, from what we're having for dinner, or should I have that drink of water, to what does life mean. So we have such a vast diversity of thoughts as well, and what we think about. So our internal world, our internal thoughts are just so colourful. And when we kind of take a step back, when we become the witness, we can kind of nearly bring some humour and some laughter to really our thoughts. It can be so ridiculous. I'm sure if we've all been there, when you're trying to fall asleep or you're about to fall asleep at night and you just become aware of where your mind's gone. Sometimes I just can't believe the thoughts that pop up so randomly just when I'm falling asleep. So our mind, we can bring a sense of humour to our thoughts, to our monkey mind, because it can just be ridiculous sometimes. So if we can just take that step back, and a nice visualization is that when I'm thinking about thoughts, I imagine myself lying down on the grass, some really nice soft grass, and I'm just relaxing back. And I'm looking up at the sky. And the sky is this bright blue colour. And I just visualize that my thoughts are clouds. And these clouds might be dark and stormy, and it could be lightning, it could be raining. These thoughts could be so thunderous. So they could be that's kind of a metaphor for maybe really troubling, depressive thoughts. So I'm just watching the storm. It might keep going, it might pass by. Or I might be noticing that these clouds are really going quickly. There might be lots of wind, and these thought clouds are just going past, and I'm just lying there watching, just observing them. I'm not judging them because they're clouds. They're just clouds in the sky. Or they might be really light, fluffy clouds. I'm just enjoying watching them. And after a while, these clouds, these thoughts that you're imagining that are clouds, just start to disappear. You can start to slow down, and you might, as you lie back, become more aware of that blue, endless sky that's behind the clouds. That blue, endless sky that is always there. It's there even when it's storming. It's there even when there's thunder and rain and lightning, and it looks like it's never going to end. But we know that these storms pass, and that blue sky is there again, and it always was there behind the clouds. So that's a good kind of metaphor that we can use for ourselves, or we can use for other people if they're going through a hard time, just likening that to the storms, to the weather. And if we just know that we are that blue sky, we are that observer, and there's a part of us that is the witness, and that never changes. But our thoughts and emotions and everything around us, what's happening in the world, is constantly changing from moment to moment. But if we need to, we can retreat, we can lie back on the grass, we can look up at the sky and just become that observer. And when we become that observer, it really instills, or we remember how peaceful it is, because we're not caught up in the storm. We're laying back, relaxing, observing, witnessing. And with this peacefulness that comes in, we have clarity. We have clearness. We can watch the storm pass, and now we're just looking at that blue sky. And from there, we can have all these really positive emotions come up. These really high vibrational, high frequency feelings like love, like joy, like hope, wonder, or all these kind of really light-hearted, uplifting feelings can come in when we become the witness and the observer of our thoughts and just let them pass by. So that is how we can create our inner peace and our inner calm, and clear our thoughts and become more positive and more hopeful. And that kind of leads to a few different techniques. So we have about 20 minutes left of our time together tonight. And if you haven't already, I've got it printed out here, but the free health resource that I created that you can download on my website by simply just putting your name and your email address in, and it comes up as a PDF. So when you download this booklet, it has all of the aspects in there. I can show you kind of, if you can see, it has a little bit of information, kind of what I've been talking about tonight, and then it has reflective questioning. And I'll go through the reflective questioning first, and then I'll talk about some of the techniques. Some of the techniques that I've been doing on Instagram in the morning, and they're really short practices, all under 10 minutes. Then I've been uploading these short, simple practices for mental health and awareness onto my YouTube channel. So if you miss them on Instagram, you can just go onto the YouTube channel and they're there for you to access at any time, and you can come back to them, because it's all about practice with these and making it a part of our daily life. If we come back to it, every now and then, that's really good and that's really helpful. But changes really occur, and we can really start to see it change our life when we implement them daily. So in saying that, if you want to implement them daily, or if you need help with this by trying to get your head around it, or you need someone there to kind of encourage you, to support you, to mentor you, to guide you, I have coaching sessions available, and these can be one-off, or these can be bought in a package, so in different sessions that you have, and we work through them together. And they're a bit more individualized as well in these, because they're one-on-one. We can talk about what you're focusing on, so whether that's concerns or a goal, and we can make them really personalized and suit your situation. And then they're going to be really effective, super effective. And because I'm working with you one-on-one, we can see where, if there is something that doesn't make sense, we can stop there and we can really go into it, make sure that you understand and that it's going to suit your life. So when is a good time to implement them? And I can keep you accountable as well. So if you feel called to, check it out on my website, and there's the option to have a free clarity call. So this is just a 15-minute phone call conversation between you and me, and we just get straight to the point. We get really real about what concerns you have, what goals you have for your health and for your life in general as well, because all these practices help you with your life and can serve you in lots of different ways. So go onto the website, book in for a clarity call, and for these coaching sessions or packages, and they're all done virtual, so we can make it really easy to fit in with your life. So go and check them out. But back to the booklet. So some of the reflective questioning that can really help bring awareness to you. And remember, with the awareness, it's curiosity. It is a learning about yourself. We leave judgment at the door and we just sit, and it's like we're taking ourselves on a date. We're getting to know ourselves a little bit more. If you want to think about it as if you're taking your mind on a date. So just you and your brain, and you're just seeing how it works. You're inquiring about your thinking about your thinking, some metacognition. So the first question, reflecting on the following statement: the thoughts I have create my world. The thoughts I have create my world. With this in mind, are the majority of thoughts that I have tend to be geared towards the positive or the negative? And how does this help or hinder my life? So there's quite a bit in just that one question. You're thinking about that quote. You're seeing if you're more geared towards looking at things positively or negatively. And then you're taking another step and thinking if that is helping you or it's hindering you in some way. Question number 2 is, when I am in a positive state of mind, how does this make me feel? And how do I behave? So I know for myself, when I'm in a positive state, the world is different. I feel so much more confident. I get things done. So that's how I feel and how I behave. And question number 3 asks you the opposite. So when I'm in a negative state of mind, how does this make me feel? How does this make me behave? And I can tell you now, when I'm in a negative state of mind, I get really low. So, because I feel like I'm usually positive and very in that higher state of mind, when it does drop down to negative, it can really drop down, and it can drop down quickly. So I'm very aware of when I'm in that negative state, how it can affect how I feel, because then my emotions come into it, and because I can be quite sensitive and I really feel and experience my emotions, down it goes, and then the behaviors that follow that. So it's very good to be aware of and figure that out for you personally. Number 4, looking over my life, when and why do I tend to fall into negative, critical, anxious, or depressed thinking? So you're looking at things that might be what we can term as triggers, perhaps. So what triggers you into a negative state of thinking? Or critical, if you're a bit of a perfectionist, an A-type personality. What triggers you into feeling or thinking like this? Or anxious, or depressed. So what kind of, if there's a certain person or a certain thing that you have to do, maybe something at work really triggers this. And being aware of listing those can really help us, and then we can decide on strategies to put in place when that comes up. So you're like preempting that, and you've got these things in place to help you beforehand. Number 5 is the opposite of that. So looking over my life, when and why do I tend to experience positive, uplifting, hopeful, joyful, confident, and carefree thinking? Now for me, when I'm doing what I love, so maybe that's yoga, qigong, or when I'm creating stuff for my business, I feel and I think so positively most of the time. It's very uplifting, it's very inspiring for me. But other things, so if we go back to that number 4, I can tell when things are putting me into a negative state. And this could be people, this could be things people say. So just being really aware of what triggers you into negative thinking and what triggers you into positive, uplifting thinking, when and why. Number 6, what are some phrases my inner self-critic usually drops on me? And I have a lot of my inner critic, that inner voice says a lot of the time, which we know is a thing now, is imposter syndrome. That you don't know enough, that why should you be doing this? Who do you think you are? You don't have enough experience. you don't know enough. They're my things that tend to come up a lot. And you just got to say, shut up sometimes to that inner critic. Or you can acknowledge it, thank it, and just move on. So just as your day goes on, as things come up, noticing, oh, that's something my inner critic says a lot, and that's a trend. That's a trend for me, that's a thought pattern for me. And why? Maybe we need to do some work on that. So building our self-confidence up, maybe listing the things where we did succeed, or listing the things that we do know. Number 7, and the last question on the mentality in the wellness awareness booklet, what are some positive phrases and mental talk that pick me up? So that can be affirmations, that can be mantras, it can be those things that you say to yourself. It's the inner cheerleader. What can you say to yourself to really pick you up? So it can be very specific. What works for you may not necessarily be right for me. So really looking at something that's individual, that's for you. And it's going to change as well. So something that you need at this time is very important and very, very critical and very vital for you achieving your goal at this time. But maybe down the track, you need to change it up. So we're always looking at our self-talk and what positive phrases we need for that time. So maybe you have a very important meeting coming up, or you have a very significant exam or something that's happening. What phrases are going to pick you up and inspire you and motivate you and build that confidence? Write them down, put them somewhere you can see, put them as a reminder in your phone. Share that with someone that you feel confident with and that you feel comfortable sharing those things with. So that's in the Wellness Awareness book. So looking at those questions and finding some time to take your mind on a date. So we have just a little bit of time left, and in this time I'm just going to go through a few really simple, practical, accessible, and of course they're natural and non-toxic practices and techniques that we can do to support our mental health. And as I said before, these are on the YouTube channel, and I'm actually going through them every day this week on my Instagram in the morning, just on the story there, so you can find it and you can join along at some time. So the first one, so we're rewiring and reframing our brain, and we're clearing and calming our mind. The first one that I talk about is talking to yourself like a loved one. Talking to yourself like you would a pet or a child, someone that you care for deeply, bringing that self-talk into yourself, something that's really simple. But the first technique that I did on Monday, and it's called the Crystal Clear Mind Meditation. And this is where you're thinking and visualizing your thoughts as clouds, which I talked about earlier tonight. You're doing that first. That's the first part of the practice. And once you've kind of cleared all the thoughts out, you've got that beautiful blue sky, you're relaxed, clear and calm, then we can start to train our attention. We can enhance our focus, our clarity, and we can do it in many ways, but the one in this meditation is we use smell, because smell is such a strong scent or sense that we have, because it goes directly to our brain, and the messages are so strong and it stays with us. They're very strong emotionally and influences our thinking as well. So you're finding a smell. I use incense because that has a very powerful effect on my emotional and mental state, as well as my physical state. It's very relaxing to me. So I choose incense to use. You can use a diffuser, and you can use a specific essential oil, like maybe relaxing, like lavender or whatever it is, energizing, whatever it is. Choose a smell. It could be a candle. Choose a smell that is going to have some kind of effect on you. And we start to focus our mind on this smell. So we're aware of the smell coming in, and then we use it to eradicate thoughts or toxic thoughts and toxic energy using the out breath. So that's the first one in meditation. The second one is we're using movement to get rid of toxic thoughts, to get rid of a busy mind and just clear it. So at the end of the day, the end of the workday, it can be really good. So I've called it the mind, body, breath movement, and it comes from Qigong. It's actually a Qigong practice. So quickly, you can find the full practice on YouTube, but you bring your arms out, inhale, and on an exhale, we swing to the side. We rinse it out. Inhale, exhale. So it links the mind and it connects it with the body, and then we bring our visualization in. So it connects the body, the breath, the mind. We visualize our thoughts just exiting the body with our exhale as we swing and twist. And it's very powerful because we're using all three, connecting them together. And after, you just feel so fresh and energized because we actually use a pranayama, so a breathing technique found in yoga as well. So we're exhaling really quickly out the nose. And that clears and calms the mind. The one that I did today is called the grow and give technique. And that's more of a journaling type of practice where we look at a struggle that we're currently going through, and we write it down. And then on the other side, we look at how that struggle is helping us to grow. So it's like learning our lessons through our struggles. And if we can't quite think of a way how we're growing through this struggle, we can think about how we're actually giving, how we're actually helping someone else. And that is really good for our mental health. We can get so wrapped up in that it's all about me, when the best thing for our well-being is to think about someone else and how we can help them. So the grow and give technique is really powerful. And later on this week, I'm going to look at mantra mind training. So mantra, man means mind, and tra is like train. So we're training our brains using affirmations. These can be super powerful, and I love this type of practice as well. So that's going to be tomorrow. And lastly is mindful breathing. So like at the start of tonight, where we used our breath to clear our mind, because our breath and our breathing is really connected to our thoughts. If our breathing is short and sharp and panicked, our mind is as well. And if our breathing is slow and calm and mindful, our mind can also become really calm and clear as well. So using mindful breathing. And we can use it as we can count our breath, if that helps. So we can count the in-breath as 1, the out-breath as 2. Or we can use words. So we can say in, or we can say out on the exhale. And you're just repeating this for a few moments or however long you need. Then you let it go and you just sit and you bask in what you've created. That basking in that clear, calm state of what you've created is really key. It's where we think we're not doing anything, but that's when all the change is happening. It's like savasana at the end of a yoga class. That integration, that moment, that pausing, that stillness is where all that magic happens. So really try and soak in and bask in what you create, even if it's just for a few moments. But if you can extend that, make the time, extend your savasana, extend that. In the meditation course that I did a few years ago now, it is called the shift in consciousness part of meditation. So really dropping into that, and it takes practice, and some days are a lot easier than the others. Even if you've been practicing forever, that sometimes we just can't get there, and that's okay. Every day is going to be different. That's why we just practice. That's why we just go with it. That's why we keep returning to it all the time. It's like surfing. Some days you're going to have a great day. The waves are absolutely perfect. And other days you're just going to get absolutely rumbled and roughed up. And that's just the way it goes. But you keep coming back for more, because that feeling of riding that wave, just there's nothing else like it. And that's how meditation can feel. And you can learn that. Everyone can learn that skill. I really truly believe that. So if you do want some help with that, as I said earlier, there's those one-on-one coaching sessions and packages available. And I can guide. We do specific practices to guide you, and I help you to learn these practices so you can do it for yourself. You can implement them when I'm not there. So that's really important to me as well. Providing people with their own skills and empowering them that they can make these changes without me. I don't want to be there all the time. I can help guide you, but providing that education is so important. So it's all on the website. So download the free health resource, the Wellness Awareness booklet that I was using today, which is what all these mastery classes are based on. And tune in to next week. So next week is the emotion side. So we're kind of getting more and more subtle as we go. The first one was all about our physical form and the things that in our physical environment. Tonight was all about our mental states, our minds. Next is our emotions. And that's a really good one. And it links so strongly in with our mentality. And it all links together, and it works beautifully when we can see it as one big picture. So that's our hour up. I hope you had a beautiful evening with me tonight. I really enjoyed going live and just talking more in depth about the booklet, because I know it can be hard to find time in our day to really give ourselves that opportunity to bring awareness. But making it a priority, making our self-care a priority, and showing ourselves some love by doing these types of things just makes the world of difference. So I really appreciate you giving yourself some time tonight and joining me here. And I hope it's filled your soul, it soothes some parts of your mind, and you know that you can bring these practices into your daily life. So just a little closing practice here. So again, sitting up nice and tall, maybe rolling the shoulders down and back, and just tuning into the breath once more. Let's take a deep inhale in together, and a long, slow exhale out the mouth. One more deep inhale in, filling up the entire body with fresh, clear, clean, positive energy. And then let it all out, spreading out all around you, filling up your body, bypassing the skin from your head to your toes, and filling up the room, filling up the space that you're in with this clear, clean, positive energy that's coming from the heart. And then opening the eyes when you're ready. Have a beautiful evening. I'll see you tomorrow morning for the daily dance and our next mentality awareness practice. Until next time.